Thank you for listening to this PodcastOne Sportsnet production, available on Apple Podcasts and PodcastOne.
Thanks for the download button on today's family-friendly episode of the Steve Austin Podcast. I also appreciate y'all supporting all the fine sponsors of this here podcast who let me do this show for you free twice a week, and that includes DraftKings. Did you know you could win some serious cash playing one-week fantasy football at DraftKings.com, and that if you use my promo code STEVE, you can play for free with your first deposit? Playing one-week fantasy football means you ain't stuck with the same lineup week after week. So if you want to give Cardinals receiver Larry Fitzgerald a shot this week, go ahead. He's been putting up strong numbers all season. Give him a one-week try and see if he don't win you some money this weekend. At DraftKings, you don't have to troll the waiver wire at 2 a.m. on Sunday morning looking for a wide receiver because you forgot yours has a bye week. At DraftKings.com/Steve, all you got to worry about is how you're going to spend all that cold, hard cash you win. And this is a good weekend to give DraftKings.com/Steve a try because they're hosting another huge fantasy contest with over $100,000 in total prizes up for grabs. So get to DraftKings.com now and choose your players for this weekend's contest. And if you use my promo code Steve, you can play for free with your first deposit. That's promo code Steve to play for free for your share of over $100,000 in total prizes this weekend. Only at DraftKings.com. Eligibility restrictions may apply. See website for details.
The following program is a PodcastOne.com production. From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Now, here's Steve Austin.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Steve Austin Show. I am coming to you from the dirt roads and senderos of the Broken Skull Ranch out here in South Texas. Tilden, Texas, to be precise. Kristen, you got to grab the microphone with the cord attached to it. That way the people will be able to hear you better.
I was doing that to see if you were paying attention.
I'm paying attention. I got 3 microphones laying on the table. I got wires everywhere. I got a 30-foot wire that Sam Roberts left over at 316 Gimmick Street. And, of course, I got my 2 6-foot cables. Why he's got such a long-ass cable, I have no idea. But that damn thing will reach from here to all the way across the house. Good morning, Kristen. How are you?
Should I go into the bedroom to do the podcast with that?
Yeah, just go in the bedroom, and I'll sit here in the damn kitchen table here in the dining room, and I'll talk to you. That way you won't be so stage fright on the radio system here. Anyway, Kristen, good morning. Man,
good morning.
You've been cooking, what you call
our breakfast.
huevos rancheros for the last 3 days.
I like the Spanish twang you put on that.
How do you say it?
I'm not going to say it now.
Okay, huevos rancheros.
No,
anyway.
it's just eggs with beans and tortillas.
Oh, man.
It's not traditionally your huevos rancheros.
Well, you put some cheddar cheese on there. You put some onions in there. We've been rotating. We've been refried beans, black beans, and today what kind of beans?
Pinto beans.
Pinto beans, because we're out of black beans. But anyway, man, awesome breakfast. But I ain't sitting here to tell you about what Kristen's been feeding me for breakfast. It's been so chaotic. We got down here to the Broken Skull Ranch just the other day. We, chartered a jet, got Hershey and Moolah loaded up all of our stuff. Kristen shipped down a box of sake. We had 2 boxes of sake in the airplane. I thought we were going to have to stop for extra fuel because we were carrying so much sake. Holy smokes. You got about 2 pairs of underwear, 2 pairs of socks, a pair of jeans, a shirt, and all kinds of sake. Because one thing is you got to make sure when you get out here to the Broken Skull Ranch in the middle of nowhere, don't run out of your favorite beverage. Sorry I had to call you out on that, Kristen, but it is what it is. And that being said, I'm waiting for Ted Fowler 361 to roll out here. It's Monday morning as we record the open to this podcast. Teddy's wrapping up shop over there in Rockport, Texas, the working man. He always spends most of the hunting season out here for us, all of December, and helps us cull our deer. And he's one of our best friends, so we're looking forward to have Teddy down here. But he ain't down here yet, and we're just trying to get caught up. Ted's been able to do a lot of the mowing out here, but I jumped in the tractor for 2 days straight and mowed for I got about 12 total hours in on the tractor and just trying to cut all the grass down. We've been fortunate to get a lot of rain, but I tell you what, when that rain comes, I started looking at my neighbor's pastures. I think we need to get about 600 head of cow out here on the ranch and just leave them out here for about a month. Let them eat all the grass because the deer don't eat the grass. They eat the browse and stuff like that.
Yeah, because when I was driving back from seeing you on the tractor, I was going through all sorts of tall brush, and I couldn't go but 1 mile per hour because all the stuff flies off of the tall grass. And I'm looking at the neighbor's sendero. I'm like, there's no grass over there, and look at what I'm in. And I came back and I asked you, I said, why don't the neighbors have grass like we do?
Because they're smarter than I am. I just ain't got no time for cows, it seems. But, I tell you what, I'm really going to consider getting some cows out here. I need to talk to my neighbors because me and Teddy are spending way too much time on the tractor and burning up a lot of diesel fuel trying to cut this grass down. And Chris is out there on my Kawasaki Mule Pro FXT, and that thing comes back and it's got those little grassy tips all over.
Yeah,
I gotta
and
get my
bugs
blower
coming out of there.
out. Son of a gun.
Gigantic grasshoppers. Oh, it's disgusting.
Man, I tell you what, I took a little lap last night. I was going to get in a deer stand, and holy smokes, me and Hershey have been hunting together for 9 years now, and she just loves to sit in the deer stand with me, and I got to, carry her up the stairs, and so.
Well, you weren't going to take her.
I wasn't going to take her, but she's starting to get a little bit old. She's 11 and a half now. And, she doesn't get around as good as she used to. But she had that look in her eyes when she saw Dad. When she sees me put on my Carhartt jacket or my camouflage jacket and pick up my rifle, she's got that look in her eyes like, I'm going, right? And I said, man, I don't know. And because here's the thing. It's deer season right now, but we rolled through town the other day, and we blew right through town because we was in a hurry to get to the ranch, and I didn't even get a chance to stop at Wheeler's and get my hunting license.
No.
So technically and legally, I'm not allowed to shoot a deer yet. Well, I wasn't going to shoot a deer. I was going to go try to take a hog if I saw one. And plus, the first 2 weeks of the season anyway, which I just got out here, deer season's been going for a couple of months now, about a month and a half for our season. I like to look for about, 1 to 2 weeks before I pull the trigger on anything because I want to see what I got. But anyway, so we get out there and we're taking a Kawasaki Mule Pro FX because I'm taking my one-seater because it's got that ox rack on there. If I drop something, I use that ox rack, put it on the front end of the mule to haul it off. And I rolled up. It was about 45 minutes of shooting light left, and I was rolling up to a deer stand we call Stone Cold. And I should have known this from all the past seasons. When it rains a bunch out here during the off season, there's a ton of stickers. So I pull the Pro FX off into the brush line. I get my 308. I throw it on my right shoulder. I got a bottle of water. I got a towel over my shoulder because that's what Hershey's going to lay on once I get her in the deer stand. And the deer stand is about 80 yards away because I want to be able to walk in there. And I normally have a little path that I can come up on the backside and I can get into that deer stand without scaring away all the animals. Well, I just got here. I hadn't been able to get in there with my machete and make my path. And, of course, there I am, tennis shoes, camouflage shorts, and a dry fit shirt. And right before I left the house, Kristen said,
"Get your snake boots on."
I said, no, I ain't going to get no snake boots on. I'm in a hurry.
Dum-da-da-dum-dum.
Right. So, anyway, man, I start walking down that road towards Stone Cold, and it's about 80 yards. And Hershey's sniffing around because she wants to smell all the smells out there in the pasture. And I look back, and I'm about 20 yards away from her, and there she is, frozen, just frozen. And I know that look in her eyes. It means I need help. I've got a bunch of stickers in all of my paws. And so I go back, pull all the stickers out of her paws.
Poor thing.
And I say, okay, let's give it another go. And I take off, and she ain't going nowhere. She's already learned her lesson. She knows the stickers are out. So she just squats.
And they're just not any sticker. They're like nails.
Yeah, they're like stickers on steroids.
Yeah.
And so anyway, she's frozen. And I'm like, oh, man, really? She's not going. I can't blame her because she got a bunch. If I was barefooted and didn't have tennis shoes on, I wouldn't be going anywhere either.
Oof, that would be
so
awful.
I know I can't put her on a mule and just leave her there for 45 minutes. She'll stay, but I didn't want to do that. So I figured, oh man, here's what's going to happen. You're going to have to hump her in. So like I said, I got my gear, my 308, my binoculars are also around my neck. So I pick up Hershey in like a curling type position and hold her up to my chest.
And mind you, she's 85 pounds.
Hershey weighs 85 pounds right now, and she weighs every ounce of it.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. I get to the part of the road right where I'm coming behind the deer stand, and this is where I'm thinking, okay, I can take my normal path that I normally have cut in, but I can't see the ground. I'm liable to step on a rattlesnake. Or I could go around to the front of the deer stand where the grass is cut, but that's going to scare away all the deer that are over at the feeder. So I said, well, piss on it. You're just going to have to take the back end in, look down at the ground. Hopefully you won't see a snake.
The 4-foot tall grass, and you're going to look for a snake in that?
Yeah, man. Well, I was doing the best I could. And, man, rattlesnake usually give you pretty good warning, that rattle. And that's a very distinct sound that when you hear it,
you run.
Yeah, you will freeze first and start looking around to see where that thing is. So anyway, I said, man, here we go. I just put it in high gear. And to be quite frank with you, 85-pound dogs carrying her 80 yards with a 308 with binoculars with a towel, I was blowed up. And then I had to take her up 6 foot of stairs to the platform to open the door. So I get there. I didn't step on a snake. I was happy. I could see underneath the deer stand. I could see the feeder. There were some bucks over there and a couple of does. And I do everything I can to get her up that platform. And I got to open the door. And so I pull the latch. Hershey's standing on the platform. I'm blowed sky high. I feel like I just got finished working WrestleMania 17 with The Rock. And I opened the damn door, and there they were. About 3 dead woodpeckers at various stages of decomposition, or whatever you call it. Decomposure, whatever. They're rotten.
Yeah.
Really? I had asked my illustrious wife, Kristen, would you get on the mule and ride around and take the locks off the stands and open the doors?
That's the very reason I didn't do it, because I knew there's going to be dead things in every one of them.
Well, that and the fact that Motel 6, I'm going to save the Motel 6 Yellow Jacket story for the Thursday podcast with Teddy, but all kinds of things get in these deer stands, and the window system, the sliding windows, sometimes pop out. And when they pop out, a bird can get in, but due to the nature of their wing structure, they can't get out. So it's a veritable trap for them once they get in there. Yeah, and it's a sad death. Like I said in the past, we've had owls getting these things, and I've been able to free them up. That one time, there's 3 owls in there. 2 of them were still alive, and one of them died, and they crapped all over the deer stand. But anyway, so I get in there. I'm blowed up. I'm looking for Yellow Jackets because they're going to whip my ass, as blowed up as I am. And then I got to take Hershey the Wonder Dog down that platform if they start kicking my ass. So I just don't want to sit in a deer stand where there's about 3 dead birds just because,
It's gross.
I think maybe they might harbor some disease or something.
Death vapors.
Yeah. And so anyway, I said, well, I lay the towel down for Hershey to lay on. She gets out of the pile of feathers that she was on, lays down on the towel, and I'm sitting there for about 5 minutes. I'm watching those deer out there, and they don't even know what's up yet. I was able to sneak in there, and it's real quiet. But I get my binoculars. I'm hoping a hog will come in, and I look underneath that feeder. There ain't no corn out there, so I figure, hell, I'm just wasting my time.
Of all the deer stands that the corn wasn't working at.
Oh, my God. So I said, you know what?
Ted said there were 3 deer stands where the corn wasn't going on.
No, but stone cold, corn was flying, and they just already eaten all of it. So I said, my chances of seeing a hog aren't really great at stone cold. They're notoriously at Motel 6. I've already got them located. But because of the story I'm going to tell you on Thursday, you'll see why I didn't hunt Motel 6, because I was fighting with Yellow Jackets in another epic battle of gunslinger with me with 2 cans of spray poison.
You need a bug assault for those suckers.
Yeah, I need a machine gun for them. That's what I need. I need to go in there with my Benelli shotgun and just blast the hell out of them and tear my deer stand up in the process. And Kristen's always saying, well, how did the Yellow Jackets get in the deer stand? Well, because they're not airproof. I mean, those damn Yellow Jackets and stuff just find a way to get through those cracks, where everything's either welded together, or the aluminum comes together, the windows don't shut all the way.
Well, I was trying to do some research to find out how to get rid of them, but I didn't. There's so many.
I wish I could if I could take my little amplifier, go in there and do some karaoke in there and just leave that speaker in there and use this 30-foot cord from Sam Roberts. Me singing would kill every one of those sumbucks.
I could put my sugar on.
So anyway, I sat there for about 5 minutes. I know a hog ain't going to come up. I can't shoot a deer. I ain't going to shoot a deer because I want to watch him for a week or 2, and I ain't got my license. So I said, you know what? Piss on it. Let's get Hershey out. I carry her down the stairs. I got a patented system I use to go back up, get my 308, my binoculars. Say, here we go. I pick Hershey up, I cradle her in my arms, and there we go. And I start walking towards that Kawasaki mule. And, man, I'm starting to blow up. And I'm
cramps in your biceps.
60 yards away. I'm 50 yards away. I'm 40, 30, 20, 10 at the 10-yard mark. I blew up. I had to put her ass down. Sit there about 10, 15 seconds, picked her big ass up, and put her on the seat of that mule and
I
brought
can't
her
even
home.
pick her up to put her in the mule. She's that heavy.
I know it. So I dropped her she off at the house and told Kristen what happened. I said, you know what? I'm just going to grab me a damn Yeti, put some ice in it, pour some Crown Royal Black in there, and make a lap on the perimeter. And just because I love to drive my mules when I get out here, and I had to cut off on the west fence line from my mowing. Wanted to see what else I needed to do. And, man, happened across a coyote out there in my lights. And
Please don't.
so anyway, I made a lap, came back to the house, watched a little bit of football, and then caught a little bit of the WWE Survivor Series pay-per-view. And then I was going to talk about that on the Tuesday podcast, but I didn't get a chance to watch all the pay-per-view. And we're fixing to fly the ranch. So what's going to happen is my wildlife biologist and my helicopter pilot are about to fly over here any minute now. And we've been working with Macy, our wildlife biologist, to help us talk about how many deer we need to take and so forth based on the amount of property that we have. So we're going to do an aerial survey, and we'll count most of the deer that we see what the survival rate was on our fawns. He'll do all the math on that. We'll count all the bucks, age them, all the does as well, and get some numbers. And so on the podcast today, or once we get through flying the ranch, I'll talk to Macy and talk to him about how long the white-tailed deer will live, what their predators are, how many deer you want per acre, a bunch of questions that I think every time I talk to people about what I do out here at the Broken Skull Ranch, what we do, they seem highly interested. And we'll also talk to Alex, because these two have been flying kind of tag team. Alex is based out of Laredo, and Macy's somewhere out of here in South Texas, and they go all over the state of Texas. They fly so many of the highest quality ranches out here in South Texas, West Texas, wherever. A lot of the properties are high fenced, and people are trying to grow big deer, so they keep track of their numbers. And you want an optimum, deer to buck to doe ratio. You want an optimum deer to acreage ratio. And so I sit there and talk to Macy and Alex, and I got 3 microphones, and that's been my podcast today. Kristen, before we take off and get ready to get into that helicopter, normally Ted flies with us, but it's a 4-seater helicopter. It's an R-44. 4-seater. I sit in the shotgun seat, which is the left-hand side of the helicopter, while Alex flies. Macy's in the back, and Ted's usually in the back and pointing out deer, calling numbers, and writing figures down. And Macy's also taking pictures with a badass telephoto lens, so we get a picture of all the deers. But there's an extra seat in the helicopter, so Kristen was invited to come up in the air. When's the last time you've been in a helicopter? That time we rented that one in Australia?
No, I went for about 5 minutes that last time with you.
Oh, yeah, really?
Yeah, you took me just a quick lap after
that's
you and
right.
Ted
That's
finished.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, but
So I'm a little bit worried because I ate my breakfast really fast, and I'm worried that I'm going to get nauseous in the airport, in the helicopter. So
yeah, but I said, well, if you get airsick, all we do is just bring you back to the house, put you on the ground, and we'll just take back off.
yeah, I didn't think about that.
But it gives you a whole different perspective because, man, like when you get up in the air, you think, oh, that brush isn't that thick, just because you're looking down at it because you're right over it. But then all of a sudden, you think, okay, I'm going to take this trail, I'm going to take this trail, I'm going to go over here. And then when you get down on the ground again, it's the thickest, roughest, toughest brush country. Everything has a thorn on it. Kristen's brother, Mitch, is one of the best guides, if not the best guide. He's a master guide in the state of Nevada. And he's hunted out here, and he's hunted virtually all of Nevada, knows it probably all by the back of his hand. I don't know how he does it. Rugged terrain, it's, mountainous, a lot of rocky stuff. And he's just one of the most rugged individuals I know, about 6'7", 300 pounds, just a mountain of a man and knows his business. But when he comes out here to the Broken Skull Ranch, he is amazed. What did he tell you, Kristen?
He said it's the ugliest, meanest, toughest vegetation to hunt in because it's hot, there's rattlesnakes, and everything sticks you.
And it's totally different than Nevada. I mean, that's
different.
Tough country, and they're taking long shots, and it's just a whole different ball of wax. But nonetheless, Kristen, let's get ready to get up in a helicopter. I was hoping to take my video camera. Our video cameras were shipped down here, so those aren't here. I'm going to take my iPhone, see if I can get some pictures, And coming up, I'm going to sit here and talk to my game biologist and my helicopter pilot here on the Steve Austin Show. And we'll see what happens when we get down from our flight in the air. It's going to take us, I think, about an hour and a half, maybe about 2 hours to fly this place and get a count and just fly these strips up and down. I think we're going to go east to west, make our way across the ranch, 2,100 acres, about 1,800 or 1,700 acres under high fence. And we'll talk to Macy and Alex, my helicopter pilot. Thank you, Kristen.
You're very welcome.
And I want huevos rancheros. I want huevos rancheros once again tomorrow morning. Oh, but wait, I got to take care of some business before I hit the stop button. Hey, man, I forgot to tell you guys once more, Broken Skull Challenge Season 4 is out on CMT. The women totally kicked ass last night. Every Sunday night, 10/9 Central on CMT. Set your DVRs. Okay. We're going to get into the rest of the show with Macy and Alex, my wife. Maybe she might join in on that conversation as well. But first, a quick word of thanks to one of the sponsors who makes this podcast possible, Dollar Shave Club. I know most of you people are already familiar with Dollar Shave Club and have already signed up to get their great quality razors that are a fraction of the price of the big razor companies. And if you ain't already signed up to have Dollar Shave Club deliver these razors right to your front door, what are you waiting for? Go to dollarshaveclub.com/Steve and get yourself hooked up. And while you're there, check out all of the other great products that Dollar Shave Club has that will make you look and smell like $1,000,000, like Dr. Carver's Shave Butter. Use that with your Dollar Shave Club razor, and your face will feel as soft and smooth as a baby's butt. Dollar Shave Club makes stuff for your skin, your hair, and your underparts. So sign up now at dollarshaveclub.com/Steve, and you'll never have to step foot in the mall again. And once you're in the club, you'll see that not only do they have the best grooming products on the market, they're also affordable. Your wallet will love you. And right now is your chance to see for yourself why so many of us love Dollar Shave Club. If you're not a member yet and have never joined, now is the time. You'll get your first month of razors for free. Just pay shipping. After that, it's only a few bucks. So join today. Go to dollarshaveclub.com/Steve. That's dollarshaveclub.com/Steve.
It's Thanksgiving week in America, and to show you how thankful we are that you listen to this show every week, Podcast One wants to give you 2 free months of exclusive access to Podcast One premium content, where you get thousands of shows from the likes of Adam Carolla, Shaq, Steve Austin, Brandy Glanville, Dan Patrick, and so many more. To get your 2 free months of premium, go to podcastone.com now, enter your email address, and we'll take care of the rest.
The Steve Austin Show is brought to you in part by Great Clips. At Great Clips, they want you to love your haircut. That's why they created Clip Notes. Notes that tell them what you like, so you get your same great haircut every time, anywhere. With Clip Notes, no matter which stylist cuts your hair, you'll get the haircut you want. Great Clips. It's going to be great.
The Steve Austin Show. The Steve Austin Show.
All right, I'm rolling sound right here. I'm in a BMW X5. It belongs to my wife. We had this thing shipped down from Los Angeles. I'm sitting on the side of the road. Y'all heard on the opening of the show that we was just fixing to fly the ranch, do an aerial survey, get a count of all the deer. And I'm sitting here talking to my wildlife biologist, Macy Ledbetter, of Spring Creek Outdoors, LLC, and located out of San Saba, Texas. Macy, that was awesome flying out there today. But let's talk about you being a wildlife biologist first. Where did you go to school? Texas A&M?
Yes, sir, Steve. I graduated in December of 1992 with a wildlife and fisheries degree, and I've been doing this professionally ever since. It's a dream come true for me.
Where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in San Saba, Texas. That's central Texas, right in the middle of Texas. I'm a 5th-generation landowner, and the ranch that I was raised on has been in the family now for 111 years. So I'm very, very proud of that, and certainly, obviously, understand the tenets of landownership and management and all the trials and tribulations that involves.
So when you made the decision to go to Texas A&M and to have a renowned agriculture program, what made you decide, hey, man, out of everything that I've done, I'm give or take about 18, 19 years old, heading into college, I want to be a wildlife biologist?
Well, ever since I was probably 6 or 7 years old, I've been enamored with the white-tailed deer and the outdoors in general. Of course, I grew up hunting on the ranch, and so I wanted to make my career wildlife and outdoor-based. And, of course, when I started talking to the people in the industry, they had all directed me to Texas A&M and College Station. So I knew what I wanted to do from a very early age. I had some great guidance and some recommendations, and I've been blessed to follow through. So I'm living my entire life's dream.
Hey, how complicated was that? Because I'm obviously there's a lot of biology there. And when you start talking about, holy smokes, what is it, just all the genetic traits and stuff like that. Did that come easy to you? Were you a good student? Did you have to study a lot?
I had to study a lot because the core curriculum was not just the nuts and bolts of wildlife. It was algebra and physics and math, and there was a lot of chemistry that was not just level chemistry. It was medical type chemistry down to the, very, very small level. So, yeah, I had to study hard because I thought I knew it. And I did on the high level, but I didn't know how to deep dive. And like I say, the Algebra 1, the Algebra 2, the chemistry, it got pretty deep. But I'm not lying to you. I'm a country boy. I had to study real hard.
It's funny, though, because like when you look at the curriculum to get a particular degree, knowing what you know, obviously, I'm not assuming the algebra or the chemistry really comes into any part of really what you're doing now, being out in the field and being a wildlife biologist.
Correct, it does not. But I think the exercise of taking those classes in college was to get you to think outside the box and realize that there's a bigger world out there, and to exercise your brain into certain calisthenics that you normally wouldn't use. So it was an extremely challenging curriculum.
Okay, now what we just got finished doing, we just got finished flying to Broken Skull Ranch. I thought we was going to have Alex, our pilot, with us that flew us today, but I wanted to drop the name of his business because he's based out of Laredo.
Yes, Armstrong Helicopters out of Laredo, Texas. Yeah, Alex Leal.
How long you guys been flying together? He's an ace up there. Got a little windy today.
It did, yes, sir. We've been flying together for 21 years. And so we've just developed a brotherhood relationship. Obviously, I trust him with my life. You're right, the wind's blowing about 20 miles an hour today. And for a new pilot, that would have been an amazing, dangerous task. And you and I both are pretty big guys, and so he was heavy, and so we were flying sideways. We were taking photographs of the big deer on your ranch. We were looking at the hogs and the javelinas, and so there was a lot of not just flying straight lines. He was turning around and dipping and diving, and I trust him with my life.
Oh, I tell you what, it's always so fun to go up with him because, man, I don't trust my life with anybody, but he's awesome at what he does. So normally Ted Fowler, 361, my good friend, joins us on these flights. Ted's not coming down the ranch till Wednesday, so my illustrious wife, Kristen, joined in, and she hung in there for about 3/4 of the time, and she finally got a little bit of green under the gills, and she said, Steve, I don't think I'm going to make it much longer. So we dropped her off, but she was good at spotting those deer.
She did very well. I was impressed with her. She could identify the different bucks, the categories that we had designated. She did a very, very good job.
My wife's a vegetarian, and she won't shoot anything, and we're not going to talk about killing anything. We're talking about animals, but my wife loves to sit in that deer stand and film those deer just as much as I do. So we're going to talk about our deer count, but just as far as the totality of being a wildlife biologist, your services that you offer are what? Just from a day-to-day standpoint of you making a living.
Yeah, these surveys that we did today is just a small percentage of what I do. Now, I do a lot of it this time of year. It's kind of a seasonal, if you would, but it's total ranch management from writing wildlife management plans to helping you convert your taxes from, say, agriculture to wildlife management. I help trust officers. I help lawyers, attorneys draft up, keeping the family land sacred through generations and divorces and marriages and divisions and that kind of stuff. I also spend a lot of time with cattle management because obviously cows eat grass, and grass impacts your rabbits and your quail and your turkey and, of course, your white-tailed deer fawns, or even your mule deer fawns for that matter. So I spend a lot of time with cross-fencing, water distribution for cattle management, and people don't think about that from a wildlife biologist perspective. And then, of course, we do a lot of habitat management. It may be something as simple as a prescribed burn, or it may be something as aggressive as root plowing and planting native grasses and managing the existing habitat that we have to improve our wildlife habitat. So the hunting and the counting, that is a small percentage of what I do. It's very, very important, obviously, but without the habitat, without the water, without the cattle management, it's all for naught. So we have to produce the animals in order to manage the animals. And we produce them from the ground up, talking about the soils and the habitat and the grass. And then also that bleeds into predator control. So once we have fawns on the ground, then we have to make sure they survive. And so we're doing some coyote management, some predator management, whether it's aerial gunning or trapping or snaring, just all of the idea of managing and balancing the ecosystem to meet your particular goals and objectives.
As far as owning a ranch.
Yes. Every landowner does not have the same goals and objectives in mind. Some of them want to be the Walmart of the world. Some of them want to be the Neiman Marcus of the hunting world. And they own the same piece of property, but how we get there is entirely two different paths.
Hey, you brought up the prescribed burn, and describe burning to my listeners, because I've considered, doing a burn on my place, but fire scares the hell out of me. So
Yes,
I've always been one that I've stayed away from it. But I've had my neighbors 25 miles down the road. They did a burn a few years ago. Things got a little out of hand because the wind shifted, and we were having a big party over here at the Broken Skull Ranch, and they showed up late, and it was dusty and dirty, and it went okay. But what does a prescribed burn do for the land?
Prescribed burning has been around, even before mankind has been around. The lightning strikes, even the Indians, more recently, the Indians, after they hunted an area, when they were ready to leave, they'd set it on fire because they knew that it would regenerate the grass and the brush, and the animals would come back into that new area. It's kind of like a native food plot, if you would, with all the new growth. And so fire restarts your habitat. And as the plants burn, the ashes fall on the ground. That's fertilizer.
Is that nitrogen?
That's nitrogen, that's phosphorus, that's potash. You go look at a bag of fertilizer at the store right now at the garden center, and guess what it's going to be? Nitrogen, phosphorus, and potash. So it's Mother Nature's natural way of fertilizing the ground. Now, prescribed burning is the planned, organized, intentional burning of a piece of property under specific, aka prescribed, set of conditions. It's not a wildfire. It's not the burn down the forest. Those are wildfires that are burned outside of prescription conditions. So we put in fire guards or fire breaks. We want to surround the area so we can control the fire. Well, then we don't light the fire unless the perfect conditions exist. And that means the humidity levels. That means the dew point. And obviously that means the wind, not only wind speed, but wind direction. So we don't want to blow smoke across an interstate highway or into downtown. We want to keep our smoke, out of people's harm's way. And then we also want to worry about the speed of the fire, because as the heat is what does the damage. And so if the wind's blowing 20 miles an hour, that fire blows through so fast, we don't have time to kill the brush, if that's what our goals and objectives are. So in that scenario, we would burn on a very low wind day of 3 or 4 miles an hour. So the fire moves very slowly, and it cooks the water out of the bush. Once the water starts boiling, that bush is dead. So again, it's prescribed burning is like taking prescription medication. You don't just go grab a handful of pills and take it for no reason. You go to the doctor, he looks at your symptoms, he diagnoses you, and he writes you a prescription of medicine to cure that problem. That's the difference between a prescribed burn and a wildfire.
So if you just were trying to do, okay, let's just say a place caught on fire, but let's call it a prescription fire, and all of a sudden, but it burns too fast because the wind picked up, and because everything didn't boil through, it wasn't as effective as it should have been had the conditions been better, or had the wind not picked up, correct?
Correct.
Or not
That's
correct?
Right. Yeah, it got out of prescription. It got out of it broke the rules.
It wasn't as effective as it could have been.
That's right. But as a part of a prescribed fire, you have to have those contingency plans. So you should have heavy equipment or water trucks. So when the wind does shift or when the wind does increase more than it's supposed to, you should have the ability to put it out.
Okay, we just got finished flying my place. We were talking before I hit the record button, and I think we've been working together 6 or 7 years. I've owned the ranch for about 9 years. Would you say, hey, Steve, you ought to do a prescribed burn here?
Yes,
based on what you've seen.
Yeah, there were areas of very, very thick prickly pear cactus. That's a very common plant in South Texas, and you had plenty of grass because you had livestock on the property for years. So you have fuel. Grass is tender as fuel. And so we could run fire through there and potentially slow down the spread of cactus. Not all of it. It's not a cure-all, but where you have grass and cactus mix, we would be able to cook the water, boil the water in that cactus plant and kill it. So we could thin around the edges of those large thickets that you have.
Okay, let's talk about how we would do a burn on my ranch, because my ranch is in McMullen County down here in Tillin. Everybody knows where it's at. And my ranch is rectangular in shape with the Nueces River as my southern border. So and it's high fence. I've got an 8-foot fence all the way around my property. That's the way a lot of South Texas is. So here's my question to you. Once we start this fire, if we did my place, will we start would you start the north, south, east, or west side?
Well, we've been blessed with many good rains, and so our dominant wind is out of the southeast. And so instead of burning the entire ranch, I would break it up into thirds, maybe possibly even quarters. Now, you've got a lot of good roads, you've got a lot of good senderos, so we don't have to spend a whole lot of money on fire guards. You know, we can reblade your roads, or we can disc up your existing senderos. And so we'd have to look at an aerial photo. That's the first thing I would do, is get on Google Earth or some map system and look at that. And because your ranch is a long rectangle, I would consider dividing it up into at least thirds, maybe fourths, and only burning, say this year, let's burn the north quarter. Right. And then next year we'll burn the next quarter. So we don't want to burn the entire property, but we do it in pieces or quadrants.
Okay, because that was my question. I was like, man, what are the animals going to do once this fire starts spreading? And obviously, it's not the whole flame is not going to be as big as my ranch, but it starts. What has been some of the craziest stuff you've observed from an animal standpoint, where you're trying to make the environment better for? But what is their reaction to fire? They just haul ass. I mean, I'm picturing them trying to jump through my fence, or
yeah, some of them do, especially if you were to put them in a corner. You know, if we were burning one of the edges, we want to give those animals a way to get out. So we would start away from the edges, away from the corners, to not put them in the corner. Don't put them in a defensive position, more or less. And so, yeah, the animals would run from the smoke, run from the fire. It's very loud. If you've ever heard a big fire, it's very loud. It kind of roars. Obviously, you have smoke. You have things popping and cracking. And so the birds fly off. The animals run off. And what's kind of neat is they go around the edge of the fire. In other words, the outer edge. It's kind of like a defensive end. They go around the offensive end to get to the quarterback. They don't go through the middle, because that's the path of most resistance. They go around the edge, where the path of least resistance. They have to run farther, but they can get around the edge. Right. And that's what the wildlife do. So you have a wall of fire going through your ranch or through your pasture, and the deer and the turkeys and the javelinas come squirting out around the edge. It's really unique how they handle it. They don't run from here to Tilden. They don't freak out. They just get away from the fire.
You've been doing this a long time, over 24 years. Is that something that you look forward to, or you do obviously do it with a lot of respect? But is it something you enjoy doing because you're trying to make the land better? Or does it has to at least still scare you to a degree, or you have to at least have a high respect for what fire can do, obviously?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's all about respect. If you ever let your guard down, then something's going to go wrong, because we're dealing with Mother Nature, which we cannot control. There's a lot of things we can control, and we prepare for a worst case scenario, best case scenario. But Mother Nature always has the upper hand, and she's going to throw you a curveball. So yeah, I respect it. It scares me. The night before we do a prescribed burn, I don't sleep. I'm a nervous wreck. It's like the old days when we played athletics. The day before a big game, or in your case a big match, you're just nervous, the what ifs, the plan A, plan B. And so yeah, it's very nerve-wracking, but I think the word is what you mentioned, is respect. I respect what I'm fixing to do. I respect the danger that's involved, and I respect my ability to adjust to that to make it safe.
Right. Okay, got to take care of the sponsors who let me do this podcast for free every week. So big ups to my buddy Diamond Dallas Page and DDP Yoga. He's created one of the best health and fitness programs available today. DDP Yoga isn't just a workout either. It's a healthier way to live. Dallas helps you with everything: the fitness, eating smarter and healthier, and tracking your progress so that you stay on track. He even provides a little kick-ass motivation for days when you ain't feeling so inspired. And he does all of that with his new DDP Yoga Now app, which you can get for iOS and Android. A lot of pro wrestlers, athletes, and musicians swear by DDP Yoga. Y'all know Jake the Snake and Scott Hall's stories. You know Jericho, AJ Styles, RVD, and Kane all do DDP Yoga. Even Mick Foley's doing DDP Yoga, and he's in the best shape of his life right now. And with the DDP Yoga Now app, you ain't got no more excuses about why you can't start DDP Yoga. The app means you can do it anytime, anywhere. DDP Yoga Now app users can do the original workouts, the new 2.0 workouts, and live workouts from the DDP Yoga Performance Center. And for a limited time, you can get the DDP Yoga DVDs for 15% off plus 3 months of full access to the DDP Yoga Now app. Just go to ddpyoga.com/Austin. That's ddpyoga.com/Austin. Take advantage of this great deal. Commit now. Change your life now. Go to ddpyoga.com/Austin to get started. All right, let's get down to the brass tacks of our conversation. Right now, it's been coming on deer. We're right in deer season, and usually, Macy, from what I've seen out here, the rut will come in about mid-December, give or take this area. Now, up in San Antonio, my buddy's place right outside of San Antonio, they'll be going to rut about. Well, they're probably rutting now.
Right now, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So I'm trying to grow big deer out there. We just got finished flying my ranch once again. We did an aerial survey. You've got a camera strapped to your chest, long lens. Alex is flying a helicopter. I'm riding in the shotgun seat. Kristen's in the back with you. And you've got a ledger down there, and we're trying to spot every animal on the property that we can see. And I'm thinking the Broken Skull Ranch is 2,085 acres. It's basically 2,100 acres. I figure I'm about 1,750 under half inch, wouldn't you say?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so based on the numbers of 1,750 acres under half inch, the other acres, which is free range, and I don't need to control that, or that I don't worry about controlling it, let's just say that. Some people would think, hey, man, you'd like to have as many deer possible on your 1,750 acres, so you got a bunch of deer. That's not necessarily what you want. What's the optimal deer per acre based on the area in South Texas that we're in out here in McMullen County? Almost everything out here that grows is protein. I think I'm probably in the Golden Triangle for deer, but how many deer per acre is optimal for my ranch? Because I think right now, based on your count, I'm probably overpopulated to a degree.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And it goes back to that earlier conversation about goals and objectives. You could be the Walmart of South Texas, or you could be the Neiman Marcus, and you want to find that sweet spot. Your personal goals and objectives for the Broken Skull Ranch is quality over quantity. So currently, right now, we've been blessed with 2 years of back-to-back rainfall, timely rainfall. So we have a lot of fawns. So as the fawn numbers increase, we have to take out that many or more adults to keep it within balance. And like you said, you have an 8-foot fence, and so we call that a conservation fence. And so it's much more difficult for the deer to come and go. So we have kind of a captive audience, if you would. So we have to manage those as responsible landowners, such as yourself. We have to manage those animals within that confined area. And to meet your goals and objectives, again, we don't want to be Walmart or Neiman Marcus. So after we did the survey today, we counted a deer to 10 acres. That's 10 acres per one deer. Now, that's just what we observed. It's very thick brush. It was kind of windy today. We did not count every single deer on the ranch, but this was a sample. It was not an inventory. It was a sample. So, for example, we have a deer to 10 acres. We have 1.2 does per buck, and then of our does, we had 56% fawn crop. All of those are great numbers except the density. Typically in McMullen County, this is called a desert. If you look up the ecological areas of Texas, McMullen County is in the wild horse desert. But again, the last 2 or 3 years, we've been blessed with over and above average rainfall. But this is not typical for the long-term average. So because of all the fawns, we need to take out a few extra does this year to lower our density to be closer to a deer to 12, maybe even a deer to 15 acres, so that those animals are spread out. They're not piled up on top of each other, and we don't damage our native habitat. Because remember, these animals eat every single day, just like you and I. They have to eat something. So what are they going to eat? Well, if there's more and more deer, they have less and less to eat. So as responsible land managers, we go and reduce the population so we have more for them to eat than what they need. That way they flourish, they reach their full genetic potential. So you're right. The deer season's here. We did a survey. We determined we need to take out about 30 does. And so that's your job from here till February, is to go out and take 30 does. Those does now, which ones do we take? We're looking for the older does because they they like to give you twin fawns because they're more experienced. And also, Steve, they're the older genetics. improvements are made, genetic gains are made through evolution. So we want to take the best bull and the best cow and breed them together, and the offspring's better than either parent. Well, a 6 or 7 or 8 year old doe, you haven't been managing this intently that long ago. So we want to keep our does young because they're the best genetic combination, and we want to keep the bucks that we like. And so when a whitetail buck walks out of the brush, you ask yourself 2 questions. Do I like him? It's a yes or no question. And do I want to see more of the same? It's a yes or no question. If you answered no to any one of those questions, you take that animal out, and you've made the right decision. And we can't see that with does. They don't wear their genetics on their head. So we have to speed that evolution process up by taking out the old and bringing in the new.
Hey, let's talk to my listeners about what the deer eats, because I'm sitting there talking about grass, but to those people who know about deer do not eat grass. They browse. So what does the white-tailed deer eat?
That's a great question. Deer don't eat grass, but they live in it. They hide from predators. Grass covers the ground so that it makes it cooler to lay down. All these deer lay on their bellies on the ground, just like your dog at home. So does your dog go and lay in the garage, in the concrete outside when it's 110? No, he goes lays in the shade. So the white-tailed deer have the same thing. So grass is an extremely important component, but it has nothing to do with nutrition. The wild horse desert, the South Texas plains, is blessed with a multitude of high-quality plants, and we call them browse plants, bushes, however you want to call them. But it's a 20 or 30 different species, and they may range from 10% protein to 40% protein. So that's like you and I walking into a buffet and having, the choice of pimento cheese to a bologna sandwich to a ribeye steak. You can eat any of those 3, but each one of those are going to have advantages and disadvantages to you as a human, and the deer have that same. Every day when they walk onto your ranch, they're walking through the brush, they're walking through a buffet, and they're selective browsers, which means they're picky eaters. So just like your kids at home, you take them out to eat, and they're going to go pick what they want to eat because they're picky eaters, and white-tailed deer are picky eaters. But we're blessed with a wide variety of plants, and fortunately, all of the plants are good for them. Some are just better than others.
I don't know all of the names, but just for typical, like wahia, like a black brush.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is there a couple of more that you?
Granjeno.
Oh, yep.
Texas kidneywood, persimmon, black brush, twisted acacia, Texas ebony. I mean, like I say, there's about 30 plants that are just top notch, and the Broken Skull Ranch has probably 25 of the 30, and that's why you have such a good quality deer herd.
It seems like everything that grows in South Texas will stick you, cut you, or hurt you. Everything has thorns on it, or the brush is just extremely tough. We just witnessed, as you're counting these deer, the helicopter will scare them up a little bit, and they'll run through the brush. And they look like they do it with ease, but anytime you've ever, as you have too, walked through that brush, if you don't have a pair of long pants on or a Carhartt jacket or something, that stuff will flat chew you up.
It will shred you, yeah. And that's actually a defense mechanism of the plant to arm itself, because everything loves to eat it. The cattle love to eat it, the deer love to eat it. And if it wasn't defending itself, you would eat it to death. You would love it to death. So the plants put on spines or heavy bark or barbs to keep you from eating all of it. You can eat some of it, but you can't eat all of it. That's their defensive mechanism, or you would love them to death.
Well, tell me about how the deer, and sometimes they'll eat the prickly pear cactus with thorns all over it. How they get away with doing that?
Unlike us, their saliva dissolves the thorns. I mean, what a blessing that would be for humans. We get one of those in our hand, and we can't even sleep at night because the bed sheet's rubbing back and forth, and a grown man crying like a little baby. Yeah. But the white-tailed deer, the saliva in their mouth dissolves those thorns. Mother Nature is amazing, is incredible. She can be brutal to us, or she can be just as forgiving and plan ahead as all get out. But you're talking about the deer running through the brush. You and I are round, and we're upright, and we have basically no hair to protect ourselves. A white-tailed deer, if you look at its nose and its face, it's an arrowhead, it's an arrow, it's a bullet, and all of the hair is thick and dense, and it's all laid in one direction. So go pet your dog, or go pet your horse, or go pet a fish. Go pet a fish. One direction, it's slimy and the water just falls off. Now go to the opposite direction. Go against the scales. Go against the hide. Go against the hair, and it doesn't work out too well. Well, all the white-tailed deer, the hair goes from the point, from stem to stern.
Yes.
So they can go through that bush and look like they're lubed up.
Yeah.
And they really are, because the hair is got a wax on it, kind of got an oil to it, and those animals can go through that brush. But again, you and I are kind of round and flat and upright, and nothing about us are aerodynamic. Nothing about us. So all of those points and those spears, and they stick on us, they grab and they tear, because we have bare skin and no protective hair. So that's why the deer can run through the brush at 30 miles an hour and come out unscathed.
Hey, talk to me about supplemental feeding for a little bit. I've been feeding protein since I bought the ranch, and supplemental feeding, I've got different protein feeders out there. I don't have the protein feeders that's out there for the deer to help those bucks grow bigger horns, to help those does when they got those fawns on them. What would happen? First of all, is this helping my deer, my does, keep the weight on, or helping my bucks grow bigger horns?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Supplemental feeding is just that. It's to augment their native diet. It's like you and I taking a one-a-day vitamin or getting a B12 booster shot. It's not the cure-all, but it helps. It assists you in, if you're lacking anything at all, it helps fill that void. So that's why I call it supplemental feeding, is the deer won't live at the feeder and won't sit there all day long and just gorge itself. It will go by, again, they're selective browsers, they're picky eaters, so it makes a living in the brush, but at the end of the day, it may be lacking something or wanting something else, and it'll go by the protein feeder and literally stand there for 2 minutes and eat and then walk off. The feeder may be full. There may be 1,000 pounds of feed in there, and that deer only eats for a minute or two and walks off. Well, that supplemental feed is vitamin packed. It's packed with macro and micronutrients. So it is kind of like you and I taking a one-a-day vitamin.
Out of all the ranches that you work with, which is all across the state of Texas, do most of the ranches that you fly or that you help consult supplemental feed?
Yes, sir, they do, because it makes that big of a difference. Because, again, Mother Nature throws us droughts, cold front, sometimes too much rain. It's amazing where you can be an embarrassment of riches. So almost every ranch, with very few exceptions, offer supplemental feeding, and you will watch, how much activity is at that feeder. You can tell what's going on. If it's raining at your ranch, they don't come to the feeder very often. If it's dry at the ranch, they come to the feeder twice a day. So you can kind of monitor what's happening out there in the pasture by looking at your feed bill. Just balancing your checkbook and saying, oh my gosh, we're not getting much rain at the ranch because the deer are eating more, consuming more supplemental feed this month than, say, last month. And then also, of course, when a buck is growing his antlers, it's very expensive for him nutritionally. He's taking all of his muscle and long bone growth, macro and micronutrients, and putting them on his head. So his body is hungry. It's kind of like you and I back when we were teenagers, Steve. When we were 16, 17 years old, you couldn't get enough to eat. You ate everything in the refrigerator, and you didn't get fat because you were growing long bone and muscle growth, and your metabolism was like a racehorse, so you could eat anything. Nowadays, you and I do that, we'll be fat. You know what I'm saying? And then on the doe side of it, she may be pregnant, so she's producing a fetus, and or if she's got a fawn already on the ground, she's lactating. And anybody that's ever been around a female in that condition, it's extremely nutritionally expensive for her body to support somebody else's body,
right,
whether it be internal or external. So supplemental feeding definitely grows larger antlers, and it definitely produces more milk and more quality milk so that female can raise a healthy baby. And every trophy buck we've ever seen in our life started out as a 4-pound fawn. And every one of those 4-pound fawns started as a fetus inside some doe's belly. And so if the doe wasn't healthy, she couldn't deliver a healthy baby. And if the doe didn't produce good quality milk, and for that little buck fawn to become a yearling, then he would never have developed into a trophy buck of a lifetime. So we like to talk about trophy bucks and big bucks and deer management. Honestly, what we are, Steve, and it pains me to say this, but we're fawn farmers. That's kind of the nuts and bolts of what we're doing here today. We're farming fawns. We're trying to produce the healthiest, most regal, most outstanding fawn possible. So in 5 or 6 years, we'll have a trophy to be proud of.
All right, got to thank another fine sponsor of the Steve Austin Podcast, who's providing comfort to this podcaster when he sits down in front of the mic and presses that record button. MeUndies. Yeah, I said it, MeUndies. They sent me a truckload of their camouflage MeUndies, the one that are made out of that modal fabric, which is 3 times softer than cotton. And they ain't lying. These are about the softest, most comfortable underwear I've ever worn. So now I can sit here down at the Broken Skull Ranch in comfort while I'm opening up 2 cans of audio whoop-ass for you every single week. So for the price of about 2 cocktails, you can have MeUndies delivered right to your front door. And you can experience exactly what I'm experiencing. And MeUndies offers free shipping to U.S. and Canada. Swig of water for free shipping. And if these ain't the most comfortable, best-feeling underwear you've ever worn, MeUndies will refund your money and let you keep your first pair for free. But I'm telling you, you ain't going to return these. And that's why, for a limited time, my listeners also get this great deal. 20% off your first order when you go to MeUndies.com/Steve Austin. Did you get that? MeUndies.com/Steve Austin and get 20% off your first order and free shipping in the U.S. and Canada. One more time for the hearing impaired, MeUndies.com/Steve Austin. Okay, you're talking about trophy deer, and you just mentioned 5'6" as an age. What is the average life expectancy for a South Texas white-tailed deer, just given that no predator takes it, no hunter takes it?
Usually it's about 8 years old. And what happens is, they're eating off the ground, they're eating brush, and there's dirt, there's grit, there's gravel everywhere they go, and they run out of teeth. And so without hunting, without predation, animals starve to death simply because their teeth are ground down and out of their head. And once they don't have teeth, they have nothing else to eat, so they starve to death. But luckily, we have predators that take out the weak, the slow, the feeble, and so you don't tend to see that, but it happens every day. We found 2 dead bucks today on another ranch we flew. 2 bucks were dead. Now, I can't say what killed them, but they were both mature bucks, and when we looked at their bottom jaws, they had no teeth. So chances are Mother Nature claimed them, without hunters taking them.
Okay, so if someone's got a ranch, just like my ranch, trying to grow the biggest deer possible, all native South Texas deer, no DMV pins, nothing. What is the age when a deer is usually at its best?
It's either 6 years old or 7, and because it's not carved in stone, just like people have personalities. Some of us peak a little earlier than others, so whitetail deer do the same thing. So you really want to shoot your quality bucks at either age 6 or 7. There's some exceptions there, but generally speaking, some deer will peak out at 6 and start declining at 7, whereas some deer just peak out at 7 and decline at 8. So you never really know. You can't look at that buck and say, oh, he's going to be bigger next year. So you're kind of hedging your bets. But if he's a big, strong, robust, healthy animal, you've got good conditions, the weather conditions have been good, and you're not in any hurry, maybe you'll carry that 6-year-old trophy buck to another year to see what happens. Sometimes you're pleasantly surprised, sometimes you're very disappointed. But the answer to the question is age 6 or 7.
Okay, as far as the culling process, you've got a age demographic there. You've got let's say 7.5 being the oldest, down to 1.5 years, right?
Yes, sir.
And so if we're going to try to cull our entire herd, basically we're trying to look at maybe taking out the bottom 10% of each age.
That's exactly
group,
right. Yes, sir.
Because you don't want to shoot all your 5.5-year-old deer because you just shot a hole in your herd.
That's right. And those deer are the more dominant, aggressive breeders, and they've reached their full genetic potential, so their antlers are on their head, in robust condition. So you want to allow them to do the breeding. So you're exactly right. You want to inventory each age class, your 1s, your 2s, your 3s, your 4s, your 5s, and compare them amongst their peers. And so if you have 10 yearling bucks, a yearling is 18 months old, that's his first set of antlers, and let's say you have 10 of them out there, 2 of them have spikes, 2 of them have 5 points, and all the rest have 8 points, it only makes sense. They're the same age. They're living on the same ranch. The same amount of rainfall has fallen on their back, and you have 10 of them, and 2 of them are spikes and the others are not. It only makes sense to take out those 2 spikes, because you're measuring them against their cohort, not their whole entire all the other deer, but of the deer of the same age.
Right.
And so, you take out the bottom percentile of that cohort amongst each age class to spread the harvest pressure out.
Okay, let's talk about a little bit of predators. I know we got to wrap up here in just a second, and you got to go down the road to another gig. We saw how many coyotes we count there? About 11.
We counted 9 coyotes today.
9 coyotes today. Probably, obviously we didn't see them all. How big of a threat is a coyote to the white-tailed deer?
He's big at 2 times the year. When a fawn is on the ground as a defenseless spotted fawn, coyotes are a major predator to them. And then again, in the fall, on those older bucks who we're talking about doing the breeding and the fighting, they get injured, they get sick, they get hurt, and he's oftentimes by himself because he's looking for a fight. So nobody wants to hang around him. And so then a pack of coyotes can easily attack that animal. Like I say, he may be injured or hurt. He's certainly not paying attention. He's lost a lot of body weight, so he's not at his peak fighting condition. In fact, he's very, very vulnerable. So again, we're fawn farmers and we're trophy class animals, and that's what the coyotes are looking for. They're looking for your spotted fawns and you're looking for your old mature buck. So a coyote is directly competing against you and I. The problem is you and I pay the bills and fill the feeders, and the coyote doesn't. So, that's not fair. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I want to take out the coyotes because he's non-discriminating. He's killing the young and the old, and I'm trying to produce the young and protect the old, and he's just working against me.
Tell me about the bobcat. Is that a threat to my whitetail population?
Very
or is that
little.
More to the dove quail?
More to the birds, the rats, the rabbits, and the mice. Bobcats are pretty much solitary animals. They like to jump on their prey, and they usually only kill things that are their size or smaller. They won't typically take down a larger animal than themselves. So typically they're quail, dove, turkeys, rats, rabbits, and mice. So they're not a big impact player to your whitetail.
Well, what about the headaches and the hassles that the hog produces, other than tearing up my roads and rooting around? I mean, they're not can they be a predator towards a whitetail on a fawn?
Yes, they sure can. Again, that fawn weighs 4 pounds. He's laying underneath that bush, and a feral hog is called an omnivore. First come, first serve. If it's alive or dead, they don't care. If it's plant or animal, they don't care. They are ruthless. They have no ethics. They have no rules of engagement. They're absolutely an eating machine. So again, we're trying to produce as many fawns as we can, and the hog is out there eating your fawns. As soon as they encounter them, they eat them. If your turkey hen is sitting on a nest, they eat her and the eggs. The quail, the same thing. So then they root up your waterways, they root up your fields, your food plots, your roads, and they also carry multiple diseases. So there's not a whole lot of good things that come out of a feral hog except the backstrap and the tenderloin. Thankfully they're very good to eat, but you really want to control the feral hog numbers because they're just way more destructive than they are beneficial.
What about the javelina? I mean, they kind of don't really. I've heard stories that they can be aggressive in numbers towards a human being, but it's nothing that I've ever experienced or seen, and I've been around a long time. They're just kind of a pain in the neck, and you can only take, I believe, 1 to 2 a year on the honor system. They're just kind of a pain in the neck. They seem to be very prolific breeders. Are they in any way, shape, or form a danger to the white-tailed deer?
They're no danger at all. They're strictly vegetarian, and they're one of the 24 North American native big game animals. So from a hunting perspective or regulatory perspective, they're no different than a white-tailed deer. Unlike a feral hog is an exotic. It was brought in from European countries. It does not belong here. It was not ever meant to be here. But the javelina has been here forever, and they eat prickly pear cactus. So they're tough. They're resilient. They typically have only 2 babies per year, and so their populations they grow slowly, and they travel in family groups. So they do defend. The whole village defends the children, if you would. They circle the wagons, and so they don't have a whole lot of predators. And so the Texas Parks and Wildlife in this instance, only allows hunters to kill 2 per year. So, yeah, it's hard to manage their populations when you can only take 2 per year, but their populations also grow more slowly than feral hogs, whereas a female can have 12 to 14. Piglets, a javelina only has up to 2.
Is there any other predators that I would be concerned about?
Well, people like to talk about mountain lions, cougars, however you want to call them, and we do have those here, especially up and down the Nueces River.
We had one on the ranch.
Yeah, we do have them, and they are major predators when they're around. But most mountain lions, particularly in South Texas, they have about a 60 square mile home range. So you would see him on your ranch today and tomorrow, but then you may not see him for 6 months because he's making his rounds. So they do kill a lot of deer. They are destructive, but thankfully they're always nomadic. They're always on the move. So we don't see a lot of them, but they are here.
We were in the helicopter, and you brought up an interesting fact about the coyote, the female's ability to, in hard times, if she's going to have pups, determine whether she has those pups, has a litter of 4 or 2. How are we talking about that? Because you were talking about how wily the coyote is, no pun intended.
Right.
But it was an interesting fact about you determining if it was in dire circumstances, maybe that female coyote wouldn't produce.
That's right. It's one of the rare animals in North America that can self-regulate. And so we've been blessed with 2 or 3 years of favorable rain conditions. There's rats, rabbits, and mice everywhere. And so the female coyote is taking advantage of that, and they're having 4 pups per year. Whereas in 2011, when we were in a historic drought and there was nothing for a coyote to eat, she would maybe only have 1 pup. And she has the ability to turn that switch on at her demand. And it's pretty amazing that animal has that intellect and that forethought to plan ahead and go through a pregnancy and deliver the right amount of the right amount of offspring that she knows she can support. That's just amazing to me. White-tailed deer typically have twins with the hopes of raising 1. That's their goal, is to raise 1 good baby. But they start out with 2. That's only a 50%. That's not a very good percentage.
Right.
It's hard to make a living doing anything 50%. That's what I call halfway. You know what I mean? So, but a coyote, she can have 4, this year, and then next year, the same female, she can decide, no, it's getting pretty rough out here. I'm only going to have 1 because I can only support 1. What if humans did that, Steve?
Yeah, it'd be something.
Holy moly.
Going back to batting 500, if you're a baseball player, that ain't bad average. All right, y'all know the reason I get to do this show for free every week is because of the great sponsors. So thanks to the sponsors, and thanks to you guys for supporting them. And here's one that's going to help you get the good night's sleep that you deserve. Boll and Branch. You think it's enough just to have a comfortable mattress? It's not. You need comfortable, soft bedding to ensure you make the most of your comfy mattress. And thanks to Boll and Branch, you can sleep on some serious, luxurious sheets for a fraction of the cost. Boll and Branch bedding and blankets are made from pure 100% organic cotton, which makes them really soft. And you buy everything directly from Boll and Branch, so you're basically paying wholesale prices. I've seen the prices of luxury seats. They can cost you up to $1,000 in the store. But with Boll and Branch, you can get luxury sheets delivered right to your front door for just a couple $100. And people love these sheets. Boll and Branch has thousands of 5-star reviews. Even 3 U.S. presidents sleep on Boll and Branch sheets. And here's the best part. You can try them for 30 nights, and if you don't love them, you can send them back for a refund. And to get you started, Boll and Branch is giving you $50 off your first set of sheets when you order at bollandbranch.com and use the promo code Steve. That's bollandbranch.com and use the promo code Steve to get $50 off your first set of sheets and free shipping. So order now, bollandbranch.com, and use the promo code Steve. Hey, let's talk real quickly about the rut, because when I say the rut, most people who listen to my podcast know that I hunt and get that's the period of time when both those bucks are ready to breed. But, Macy, what brings on the rut? What is responsible for the whitetail buck saying, this is when I'm going to breed, this is my time?
Yeah, the breeding season is determined by day length. The buzzword for that is photo period. So in Canada, for example, the deer start breeding in September, before the winter sets in. Well, then as you go further south, say in Ohio, they may not breed until the first part of October. Well, then we come all the way down here in Texas, they don't even breed until, November. And here we are in the southern tip of Texas, the southern tip of basically North America, where the winters are least severe, and we don't breed here till almost Christmas time. So the white-tailed deer may start breeding in August or September, and the same white-tailed deer can now breed in December. So it's called photo period. The days get shorter, the nights get longer, that kind of stuff. And the gestation for a white-tailed deer is 200 days, Steve. And so if you take Christmas and you add 200 days to it, that's springtime in here. So they want the fawns. Mother Nature dictates the fawns are born under the ideal conditions. It's not too hot. There's a lot of green grass. There's a lot of green vegetation for the fawn to hide in and the doe to feed upon. So it's really a great system. It's all built on when is the optimum time for the fawn to be born. And then they back up 200 days and say, okay, we're going to start breeding. And it's always right before the dead of winter.
Okay, when you talk about the photo thing you just mentioned, I was thinking, because I don't know what you know, I was just thinking Mother Nature all of a sudden spins up the buck deer's testosterone level, and that's when it decides to breed because the testosterone level is so high. Does that have nothing to do with it? No,
that has a lot to do with it, but that too is based on photo period. So
okay.
the antler cycle, think of it this way, a white-tailed buck is sterile. He has no live sperm until he has hard antler. So a buck that sheds his antlers can't father a fawn. Same thing, a buck in velvet is sterile. So all of that, this daylight savings time and all this stuff that we as humans do, we adapt. Well, white-tailed deer can't, or wildlife can't adapt to it. So a deer starts growing his antlers early in March or April. He's sterile, and he starts rubbing the velvet off in, say, August or September. Then he can have, he can father a baby, but he has to work out. He's got to lift weights. He's got to pump iron. He's got to beat up his buddies and determine dominance and hierarchy. So when the rut does begin, he's the man. Or the hierarchy has been determined who gets to breed first, who gets to breed second. So it's all based on seasons of the year, but the seasons of the year are dictated by the photo period.
Man, I tell you what, we've seen some incredible fights out there. We've been lucky to video a few of them. And, a lot of people, when they see the white-tailed deer or just see a deer, period, they say, oh, that's just a really neat animal. And they're wonderful. But God dang, when they get into a fight, mister, it is to the death. And
they're not playing. Yeah, it's survival of the fittest. It's I'm going to kill you or you're going to kill me. And the doe standing over watching, and she says, I'll take the winner. That's what it is. It's not, nobody gets a participation award, Steve, out here. You are a winner or you're a loser. There's no participation awards.
And I'll tell you what, man, when that winning buck chases that other buck off because he's had enough, I mean, his tail's between his leg, and it's like, I'm out of here, mister, you can have her. That being said, that winning buck, he'll stay with a particular doe for a set of days. My question then is, okay, we got a 5.5-year-old buck. He's in his prime. He's going to do all the breeding he can. How many does will he breed while the rut is going on?
And that depends on your adult sex ratio. How many does can he control in his territory? So it may be as few as 3 or 4, maybe as many as 10 or 12. See what I mean? Again, it's a function of how many bucks you have versus how many does you have, and how big your ranch is and how good a quality of the habitat. Because if your habitat's poor quality, why does he need to defend it? He's going to go pick the best quality habitat, and then he's going to fight to defend it. Well, maybe if you have so many does and so few bucks, he's going to breed a lot more does.
If there's no competition, or if the more mature deer are out there with their does, okay, here's the question. From an age of 1.5 to 7.5, at what age are they most prolific at breeding if they're not having to fight, or if there's too many does out there? Which age group is doing the most breeding?
Usually it's your 3 to 5-year-olds. That's when they're the peak of their physical fitness. They're the most athletic. They travel more, and they're more aggressive. Their testosterone is ramped up, and they're ready to fight anything and anybody. So a 3 to 5-year-old does a lot of your breeding, and that's why we harvest deer amongst the age classes. So as he graduates from a 2-year-old to a 3-year-old, you've already made the conscious decision, I like that deer. So if he does a lot of breeding, that's okay.
Right.
And then again, as humans, as once we get to a certain age, our body slows down, our testosterone slows down. We don't go getting bar fights every night. We start going to bed early. That's your 6 and your 7-year-old deer. He's going to breed a few for sure, but he's not running all over your ranch beating everybody up.
Right.
He's the old guy with the blown out knees that's slowing down. He's still a great guy, and he's still going to catch a few does, but he's not your herd bull anymore. So it works just like yours and my knees and back and hips work. You know what I mean? Same idea.
All right, last question, or not a question, but I've talked about this on the podcast before, but since you can speak about it much more eloquently and articulately than I can about it, difference between an antler and a horn, because a lot of times, we're out here talking about these deer, say, man, you see the horns on that thing? But they're not horns, they're antlers. But just because you're out here just using lingo, we'll call them horns. But there's a difference between an antler and a horn. What is that difference, Macy?
That's a great question. A horn is made out of keratin, just like your fingernails and your hair. It grows from the base outward, like your toenails and your fingernails, whereas an antler is an extension of your skeletal system, and it's complete bone. So a cervid, that's a moose, an elk, a mule deer, and a whitetail. Those cloven hoof animals that live in North America are classified as cervids. They grow antlers one time a year, and it's for the sole purpose of fighting other males to defend the territory that we're talking about for their right to breed. After the breeding season, the antlers fall off. So horned animals like cows, they breed basically year-round. And so they don't need to grow and produce those antlers. It's made out of keratin, like your fingernails and toenails, whereas antler is made out of bone. They need it for one very specific purpose, and that's to fight to the death, and the winner gets to breed. After the breeding season, they don't need to carry those antlers around, so they fall off their head. So then their body recovers nutritionally. They start putting fat back on, and they start hanging back out with the buddies that they just beat the tar out of 2 months ago. Now all of a sudden we're best friends, but in 6 more months I'm going to try to kill you again, Steve. It's crazy. But look at the cows, the little cows and the horned animals, they're just kind of on an even keel. They don't have this peaks and valleys of your best friend, I hate your guts kind of stuff. They just go hang out with their buds all the time. So a horn is like your fingernails and your toenails and your hair, and an antler is an extension of bone.
Good answer. Here's a story for you. I used to have a ranch in Bernie, Texas, that had 118 acres, and someone had given me an 8-point buck, and he was a pet. And, man, I'd walk up to him, and I can't remember what I named him, and I'd pet him, and we'd hang out, and he'd follow me around, and he'd start putting his horns on. He's still in the velvet horn. I started getting a little cautious about him. We were still friends, but I kind of keep my distance. And when he went to a hard horn, I'd look at him, but I wouldn't get next to him, just because that's when his attitude starts to change. What would you say to somebody who stops in a park or wherever they're at and just wants to go pet the friendly deer with the hard horns? They look pretty, but these are badass animals that will defend themselves. And all of a sudden, where that photo cell thing, or they start thinking about breeding. Mm-hmm. Last thing you want to do, I'm thinking, just being an old guy from South Texas who owns a ranch down the road, you don't want nothing to do with a full-grown white-tailed deer to go out there and try to give that thing some corn.
And remember, those 8 points are called 8 knives. Those points are razor sharp. They're like an ice pick, and he outweighs you more than likely. He's a whole lot quicker. So, yeah, you don't want to get out of your vehicle. Take a picture of him from a distance. But, again, his hormones is telling him, it overrides his mind. And so sometimes they will do some amazingly crazy things, walk through traffic, walk through the town, or be out in a wide open field and act like they can't even see humans anymore. And it's because they're temporarily, insane because of their testosterone, because, again, they're only breeding for a few weeks out of the year. Imagine how crazy humans would be if that was the case. We're crazy already, but what if we only bred for a couple of weeks out of the year? The crime rate would go, astronomical. So that's what happens in the deer world. It's just so chaotic, it's so aggressive, and it is fighting to the death. It's not good old boy, let's go drink a beer and talk about our differences, and we don't get participation awards. You're going to win or you're going to lose. And so if you approach an animal in hard antler in the fall, you need to really ask yourself, is it worth dying for? Because they don't care who you are and who your mom was or anything. They may just be so hormonally induced they can kill you, and it happens every year.
And that's really interesting when they get so hormonally induced, because that's when they slip up and make a mistake. They're so smart, they're so savvy, they got that great eyesight, they got that tremendous nose, and basically when you're out there hunting them, you're in their living room, and they know everything. But now when they get so spun up over that next doe, looking for that next doe, and tongue's hanging out of his mouth, he just got out of another fight, he just bred another doe, and then they'll slip up and
that's it. That's where we as humans, we as hunters, have the advantage. When he's not paying attention, he hasn't slept maybe in 2 or 3 days. He hadn't eaten maybe in a week, but he's still on his feet. He's looking for that next receptive doe, and if we're in the right place at the right time, we may harvest the biggest buck of our life, only because he's induced with hormones.
Sometimes, right now, I just sat in a deer stand for the first time yesterday evening just to look. I want to look for about a week before I start pulling triggers. And I got to get back to aging. And
right.
I'm looking at, a year and a half, 2.5, 3.5. Oh, that deer's 5.5. But sometimes towards the end of that season, it gets a little tricky because those bucks are starting to lose weight. And to me, they look a year younger than I may age them at. Is that common, or is that just me not being very good?
No, it's very common, Steve, because like you said, early in the year, pre-rut, he's fat, his skin's loose and all of that kind of stuff, and you can kind of tell what he is. Whereas late in the year, he's run down, he's gutted, and he's limping. He's just not carrying himself as strongly and as proudly. He may have had his butt whipped a couple times or whipped a lot of butts, either way, but he's tired animal, and he's got his old head down. He's not paying attention. Very difficult to age. Very difficult.
Hey, when those bucks are sitting there making those, I saw one yesterday, he was just raking that brush, and this thick brush. Is he doing that to work his neck out, or is he doing that to what's he doing? He's already knocked the velvet off. Is he marking his territory, or is he getting his neck in shape for what's coming on?
Exactly both. He's doing both. He's lifting weights, he's pumping iron, he's getting ready for the impending battle, but then he also, after he makes that rub, then he'll paw the ground, he'll take a step forward, and he'll urinate. Now that becomes a scrape. He scraped the grass and the debris, and then he laid his business card on the ground and said, hey, if there's any punks in the area that have any questions, they need to come talk to me, because this is my street block, my street corner. This is mine. And if you have any questions, come over and talk to me. And so he's lifting weights, he's pumping iron, and he's getting ready to defend his territory for the right to breed.
Last thing, I'll let you go. I always like to say last thing and keep talking, but we got to get going. Sometimes you see the doe and estrus urine or whatever, the scents, the stuff that a lot of people use. Back when I lived in Georgia, I finagled with that stuff a little bit, never had any success. I never really saw any deer in Georgia, where I was hunting. Does that stuff work, in your opinion?
On rare occasion, it does work, but I want to stress rare occasion. So I don't spend any of my money on it, but the idea is a white-tailed doe comes into estrus, which means she's ready to be bred for only 24 hours in a year. And during that time, she urinates. Well, she has pheromones and hormones, and the buck can sense that she's receptive. And so there are deer farms that raise these does and collect their urine during this time of year, and they bottle it. But that doe may be coming from Ohio, and I don't know of how many South Texas bucks on the Broken Skull Ranch have ever met a girl from Ohio. So you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So what is that smell? Maybe they turn and run from it. I don't know, but it does work under some conditions. But it's better to hunt where your does are going to be, at the feeder, the food plot, the water source, and let those native does bring him to you.
Question you just brought up at the food plots and over in Texas where we were both at, you're able to hunt, you're able to bait the deer.
Yes, sir.
When we're speaking about South Texas brush country, how successful would you be if you weren't able to use corn?
It would make a dramatic impact. Luckily, our deer love corn. They're addicted to corn. It's like kids on Halloween night. If you don't take the Halloween...
What are your thoughts on that? Is that cheating to the non-hunter?
I don't believe so. No, sir. The deer have the ability to walk away from it. They don't have to eat it. We're just offering it to them. So it's still their decision to come out into the wide open to eat it and stay there as long as they do. And there's some deer that don't eat corn.
Well, man, there's been times, I've on my ranch for 9 years. Sometimes I've happened across a few bucks that are 5.5, 6.5 years old. And I'm like, holy smokes, that's a hell of a deer. And Macy, I mean, when a deer sheds its horns and grows up another set of horns, by and large, for the most part, those horns have very identical traits. That's kind of
their
its genetics.
Yeah.
Now, if it gets injured, it might, one of the antlers might come back differently. But that being the case, so we'll name a lot of our deer just based on those horns. But there's just because we're high fenced, 1,700, 1,800 acres, doesn't make anything any easier. The deer aren't going anywhere, but there's plenty of brush for them to hide in. So, like I said, just sometimes I'll see a deer, and as long as I've owned the ranch, that's the first time I've seen that particular animal.
That's right. And people like to call these 8-foot fences deer-proof, and they're not. We saw a deer go through the fence today, as a matter of fact. They can jump over them if they need to. They can get through them, and they can get under them. So just because you see an 8-foot fence does not mean that that's a jail cell, because that's not the case. But, yeah, as these animals get older, a little wiser, their personality is much like people. Some are lovers, some are fighters, some are social lights, go to every party you see in town, and other people you only see once a year. And deer are the same way. They have personalities much like people, and they're not all cookie cutters. They look the same, very similar, but they have personality traits and characteristics and egos. Some, like I say, love to fight. Some just soon lay down and rest and watch the sunset. So it's much like us in that aspect. But this 8-foot fence does not mean that deer don't come and go, because they do. They're deer inhibiting fences. They're not deer proof fences.
Wrap this thing up. Anything I missed that would be informative to my listeners?
I think Texas is going to have an outstanding hunting season this year, thanks to Mother Nature. And also Texas is very aggressive in their deer management. We're progressive, we're aggressive, and we have great landowners like yourself that want to do right by the deer. And so my job is to help you meet your goals and objectives like we talked earlier. And we have the permit system in Texas that allows us to do almost anything we want to do within reason. So I appreciate being on the show, and I appreciate getting to fly the ranch today. The Broken Skull Ranch is awesome. It's all it's cracked up to be and more. Big trophy bucks. It's a wildlife mecca, and I appreciate the last 6 or 7 years we've been working together. So you're doing a great job, Steve, as an individual. I enjoy flying with you. Your wife has great eyes, even though her stomach is not as good as her eyes, but she did a great job today. So tell her thanks for me.
Well, I'm going to be sending you the obligatory picture, because I'll have a question mark, and that's one of the things I always appreciate about you. I'll send you a picture of something. I'll say, man, I'm on the fence about this one, and you'll say, hey, take him, let him walk.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that, because when it comes down to it, man, I want to make a good decision. I want to be I'm very responsible, because I got to make decisions, because, like I said, I'm trying to grow the best deer I can, and sometimes you're on the fence about one, and you need a judgment call or need that reaffirmation or devil's advocate. So I always appreciate how you're able to text me back almost immediately with all the places and all the other ranches that you're taking care of.
Yeah, no,
Am I the only one sending you pictures?
No. I'll show you my phone when we get off the phone here. A while ago, and I had 27 text messages, and every one of them were photographs. So I love it. I hunt vicariously.
Yeah. Well, I'm just glad to hear that I wasn't, because you're the expert, or one of the experts, or a guy who knows way more than I do. I think I'm doing pretty good, but when I need to make a call, I go to Macy Ledbetter and Spring Creek Outdoors LLC. Macy Ledbetter, my wildlife biologist. If you're in the South Texas area, you're all over Texas.
I'm all over Texas. I do a little work in Mexico, but I primarily stick in Texas. Yes, sir.
So if somebody wants to get a hold of you, check out Spring Creek Outdoors. You got your website down there, springcreekoutdoors.com, springcreekoutdoors.com. Macy, it was great flying with you today, and we'll probably be doing it again next December or next November, and I'll be sending you some text messages.
Yes, sir, Steve. Thank you for having me on the show today. It's always a pleasure being around you, and I appreciate everything you're doing.
All right, everybody, give me the go-home cue. It's time to wrap up this podcast and ride off in the sunset, but before I do that, I want to say thank you very much to my wildlife biologist, Macy Ledbetter, for joining me here on the show. SpringCreekOutdoors.com is his website. Macy has been working with me for 6 or 7 years out here at the Broken Skull Ranch trying to improve my deer herd. And since I've hooked up with Macy, my deer herd has increased exponentially. He's very wise. You can tell listening to him. He's just very passionate, very, very knowledgeable about what he does. And I always lean on him for advice. So he's really been able to help us out here at the Broken Skull Ranch grow the biggest deer we can. So many thanks to Macy Ledbetter, good friend and a great wildlife biologist. If you need help managing your herd, go to his website, springcreekoutdoors.com. Hey, got something for you guys to watch. I've been looking at everything that's going on out there these days. Go to YouTube. Merle Haggard, Are the Good Times Really Over for Good? See if you can find him singing the live version. There's about 2,500,000 views, something like that. The Ford and the Chevy still last 10 years like they should, but the rest of the song is what I want you to listen to it. Where everything's going crazy these days, we just need to get back to the damn basics. Merle Haggard singing Are the Good Times Really Over for Good? Hopefully that resonates or rings a bell with you. Anyway, enough of me preaching. New season of Broken Skull Challenge is here every single Sunday night on CMT at 10/9 Central. Set your DVRs. Wait till this show builds up. Wait till you get to the last 2 episodes. It's going to blow your socks off. All the shirts I wore are ProWrestlingTees.com/Steve Austin and BrokenSkullRanch.com. All the designs that I wore on the set of Broken Skull Challenge. And if you're looking for the best damn IPA available, get Broken Skull IPA from El Segundo Brewing Company. Stop by the brewery, 140 Main Street, El Segundo, California, right outside of LAX. Pick it up at Whole Foods and Total Wines if you live in California, or order it from InsideTheCellar.com if you live in a state that they ship to. You can find everything Steve Austin related at BrokenSkullRanch.com, including the Broken Skull Cold Steel pocket knife. And if you want the best price on the baddest knife on the planet, go to Amazon. It's $75 on Amazon, and use my links when you do. I believe the new link on my website is on my Amazon link. All my Amazon links are on PodcastOne.com. Click on the Killer Deals button in the top right corner of the page and hit the Steve Austin Show button. I got Amazon links for Amazon USA, Amazon UK, and Amazon Canada. Use my Amazon links whenever you're doing any online shopping, and Amazon will kick back some money to the podcast. It helps us pay our production cost. It doesn't cost you anything extra. No hidden fees or charges. Just buy whatever you plan on buying, and you help out the podcast in the process. Bookmark it so you can find it easier. And you'll also find the links to all my great sponsors of this here podcast. I appreciate y'all supporting the sponsors. They're the ones who let me do this for you free twice a week. So big thanks to ddpyoga.com/Austin. Get 15% off the DDP Yoga DVDs and 3 months full access to the DDP Yoga Now app for a limited time. To DraftKings, use my promo code Steve to play for free this weekend. And the Dollar Shave Club, sign up at dollarshaveclub.com/Steve and get your first month of razors free. Just pay shipping. To MeUndies, go to MeUndies.com/Steve Austin to get 20% off your first purchase and free shipping. To Bowl and Branch, go to bowlandbranch.com and use the promo code Steve to get $50 off your first set of sheets. And hey, the 60-second AP News headlines are coming up next. Until then, my name is Steve Austin, and I will catch your ass down the road.
Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.